Good afternoon and welcome to Dark Hour Paranormal. I am your host, Michael Roser, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining us today for another lovely afternoon broadcast. Bit overcast where I am here, but plenty of light out there. But this is something special, okay? This show is going to highlight one of our favorite creators here on YouTube, Manny from Area 503. And together we're going to be talking a lot about his creation, what he's been up to, and of course, the show that he just premiered about an hour ago. And then we're going to get into the disclosure stuff. We're going to talk about some UFOs and ufology and whatever you guys would like to discuss here with Manny, because it's been some time since he's been with us, not only here, but I believe Manny took a small hiatus at one point and we hadn't seen anything new. But let me tell you, with the show that he just released an hour ago called Disclosure Tonight, this was fantastic. I mean, you want to talk about the production level, the editing, the character development, and it's an amazing bit of art that you guys should go and see. It was, I believe, posted for an April Fool's video today, and it's just fantastic. That being said, excuse me, I'm not going to waste too much time here because I see that I have a lot of you that I saw over at Manny's Area 503 channel just a while ago. I'm going to very quickly shout some of you guys out because, you know what? That's good measure. I think we should do that. All right. Long Island Bigfoot, what's up, my friend? Paul Tavares, good to see you, brother. Keep rocking on that guitar. Alien Girl, thanks for making it, love. Mr. Bubbles, nice to see you, brother. Welcome to the show. For the Love of Kitties, I like that. Welcome to the show, For the Love of Kitties. Mike Johnson, what's up, my friend? Good to see you. Who else have we got here, folks? Jacqueline Oliver. I don't believe I've seen you here, so if this is your first time, welcome to the show, and thank you for joining. Hey, it's Area 503. That's funny. I think we'll see him in just a moment there. And let's see if I've forgotten anybody. I very much apologize. Oop, got to have KPT Corrosive in the house. Of course, Coralon is not in the TV set anymore. Now she's in the computer monitor. So we're going to stick with that. Cashew Guzentite, how are you, my friend? Good to see you all here tonight. Okay, today. See, I do this a lot. I'm not used to the afternoon shows. It's usually the evening for me, so you'll hear the slip of the tongue. Lee Conroy, good to see you, my friend. Scotty B, thanks for being here. And without further ado, Karen, the good twin, we are going to bring Mr. Area 503 onto Dark Hour Paranormal. Hello, Frapsap. Hi, First Floor. And it's good to see you, William Scott Thomas. What's going on, Manny? Sorry for the long introduction there. We have quite the busy chat room here so far, so I'm glad to see that. Hey, man, welcome to the show. It's been a little while since we had a chance to sit down and talk. What's been going on, man? How are you?
I'm great, man. I've been having a good time. The last 3 months I've been working on this April Fool's Day video, and it's kept my spirits high and my sense of humor just running and flowing, and it's always good. I was riding that for a while, and I think after the last year that everybody had, I think I personally wanted a little bit of a high rise to 2021. I was like, let's bring it in with a good note, so here we are.
No, that's awesome. And for anybody who hasn't gone and checked out his show, it just premiered again an hour ago. Please go to Area 503, his YouTube channel, and you can check it out. It'll be, I'm sure, the first video that pops up now, but it's absolutely fantastic. Let me ask you, Manny, now, when you were sitting down and you had, well, let me start here. Where did you get the idea to put this particular piece together?
So the whole piece spawned around, it started with the Secure Team 10 apology video. It's, I was sitting around one night, and I oftentimes do this when I'm, working on side projects or just artistic things that I do on the side from my normal channel, and it's just for fun. I make little spoof videos. I do things that are fun, But got a lot of feedback there. Okay, yeah. So I was sitting around one night, and I was thinking about all those videos that Tyler had put out where he had said all those things, and I thought to myself, this guy's never going to come out and own what he did and apologize to his fans and stuff. And I was thinking about how I could edit together an apology video for him that he should have made for his fans. And that's it spawned there. And then I was thinking, well, okay, well, I'll do this talk show gag and I'll have Tyler come on and I'll talk to him. And then I thought, I went through so many different ideas before I had the final product. At one point I was like in another dimension. So I thought, oh, well, I'll have the Tyler from that reality call into the show and he'll be a nice guy and apologize for the one in our reality, but, it ended up the way it did, and then I had to rewrite it because, he made those posts that he's coming back and stuff. And I was like, oh God, I can't harsh on this guy. He's, he was ill and stuff, and I was like, but I put all this work into this bit and I've got to, I need to use it somehow. So I had to rewrite it and change it. But, it came out okay, I think, and I think I really portrayed him the way that I wanted. I think he should have portrayed himself. It was a little remorseful, like, hey guys, I'm sorry, but and I'm planning a follow-up video that's like a making of where I talk
I was
about
going to ask you.
yeah, like the different characters, and I'll talk about his character and they're like what I wanted to do with him, like how I wanted him to portray himself. So that'll be in the follow-up video that's coming out after the outtake video. So those are all coming down the pipe. But that's what started it, and the whole thing just snowballed from there. Yeah.
I have to say very quickly that, Tyler is an easy target for many, many reasons, and not just on the critical end, but for the absolute scornful comments and, things that have been said about this person. Now, that being said, I think that out of all the people who have made a mark in this field, he was one of the bigger names to kind of forge a sort of gully, if you will, for the rest to kind of follow in certain respects. Now, by no means is he the first person to do this, but he did bring a lot of things to light. Your depiction of him in the video you just did was very fair. It seemed, obviously we have our opinions, but it seemed pretty neutral in respect to your presentation, which to me, I think is really interesting because most people would be tempted to really slam on the guy and not give him a developed character the way that you did in your show.
Yeah, for sure. And a couple of things there, as far as him bringing to light things and him being, a big name in YouTube ufology and in ufology in general, it's true. When he was on his upswing, I originally found Tyler when he was around 250,000 subscribers, and I thought he was amazing. I was like, this guy's awesome. He's just a kid who calls it how he sees it, and he's spot on most of the time. I personally went out and told people about his channel. I was like, you guys got to go check this out. And then as I started watching his stuff over the years and doing research on subjects that he had presented, brought to light, like you said, I realized that he wasn't very thorough, and he, at that point I was like, okay, well, maybe he's just bringing it out there. He's not trying to be the end all for disclosure on these subjects. He's just trying to bring the subject to people's attention. But then I kind of realized, no, maybe as the years went on, I was like, no, there's more to it than that. But there was some help for Tyler there too. The YouTube algorithm got a hold of him. There was some other, like I saw his channel pop up on some of the very first streaming apps on telephones for iPhone and Android, like the Tubi and the Peacock type apps. There was a secure team channel. There was people promoting him on forums and websites and stuff. They're like, hey, this guy's telling the truth, and he got some help along the way. But he was just kind of in the right place at the right time. If it hadn't have been him, I think it would have been someone else. YouTube has a way of picking people. All of these mechanisms that I talk about, they're gonna get somebody, whether it's you or the next guy. But he got some help along the way. That being said, he has done a lot, like he's brought some attention. The UK tabloid media got a hold of him and ran him for a long time, which helped promote ufology, but that's because ufology was big over there and selling. But and I mentioned this to you before when we've talked about it.
Well,
oh, sorry about that. I don't know. We're just I got some feedback there. I don't know if it's on my end or what, but
I don't hear it. So just so you know, yeah.
Okay. It's probably on my headphones or something. Then I'll figure it out here. Okay. But so I was saying about him, like I had done some research into him, and a lot of his stuff is bogus. There's quite a few things where he's put out content that is him, and that it's he's saying that he's a witness, or that he's saying he's something else, or and it's just like, why do that? If you take a piece of footage, just stand behind it and say that it's yours. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, it's not really that difficult. If walk into something like this with the best of intentions and you stick to those intentions. If you start off again with an intention of bringing to light the truth and that you want to know these things for yourself, but also convey them to others as well, just stick with it. You know what I mean? Don't get lazy and start posting stuff that you know is obviously hoaxed or CGI just for the sake of posting things. And I felt that's, I think a lot of people felt that's what he was doing in the latter part. I mean, we don't have to go too deep into him, but this is a name that will not go away. Okay. And I understand, as you have also expressed, that there are a core group of folks who follow him and absolutely love him. I get that. But in the end, will that sustain given whatever content he may or may not come up with next? Let me ask you this. In your opinion, do you think he's really back?
Yeah, I think he's going to make videos again. I believe that he is probably in the next few weeks going to release something. It probably out of necessity, he needs to. I mean, let's face it, that's what he does for money, and I don't I don't know what he made in the past. I don't know what he put away. I don't know if he owns property. I don't know if he's got $1 billion in the bank. I know nothing about the guy, personally, but it seems like he's on some hard times. So he's probably going to be putting something out. That being said, any measure of trolls that he had before is going to be 10 times higher than it was, because everybody's looking at him sideways now. When he disappeared, the fan base that he had was so loyal that they kind of turned on each other. A lot of the trolls that he has were diehard fans at one point that either saw through his deceptions or just got tired of hearing his Arnold Schwarzenegger, "I'll be back." That's his next lawsuit. Arnold's gonna sue him, holy crap. But
never know.
I mean, I hope the guy does come back. He's got a big name. People like him, and say what you want. People are going to watch his stuff, even if it's complete rubbish. I went back and watched one video where he had this spooky thing that was following this child through the city that disappeared when the family came out to video it. And I'm like, bro, that's a damn balloon that was popping, it was just floating up there. I mean, if you watch it, if you slow down the video, you can see the shape of the balloon popping as a balloon pops. I was just like, oh my God, dude. And he made this 2 million view video, and he himself admitted that he did that stuff. Now that I do want to talk about that for a second, I mean, people who have been in this field for so long and, how are they not going to get jaded? How are they not going to be like, oh, I'm going to put up something that looks cool, even though my gut, I know that it's garbage, how do you keep from doing that? How do you resist that low hanging fruit, especially when you see other people on the platform doing it, getting away with it and getting paid for it? How do you resist it? For me, it's simple integrity. I won't ever post that garbage because I want people to take me seriously. I won't. If I say something looks spooky to me, it's because it looks spooky to me. I'm not going to say that a jet is a UFO. If I think it's a jet, I'm going to say it's a damn jet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I've only been doing this a few years. Talk to me in 12 years after I put out 1,000 videos like Tyler at Secure Team 10. I get it. I am constantly amazed by the third phase guys that they're coming up with stuff nowadays and not getting, especially for the rate that they're putting out stuff. I'm just like, holy crap, man. Like, I'll take my hat off, but I don't want to show you my receding hairline. It's funny. but they're, how do you keep doing that and keep it fresh? How do you not, And so if it was a one-time gig with Tyler and he just made one video that was a goof or hell, even 5, I'd be like, okay, well, I get that. But the guy has a pattern of lying and deception, from his very first video. I swear it's my opinion that it was him, and he posted this video where he's like, witness spotted a UFO hovering silently over a parking lot in central Ohio or whatever. And I'm thinking, well, God, isn't that the state he lives in? And I cranked the video volume up, and the guy who's driving the car sounds just like him, telling his wife, like, hang on a second. I want to pull over and videotape this for a second. It sounds just like him, so if his first video is a fraud and his last video is a fraud and there's a bunch in between, how do you differentiate,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, when you make, what you're putting out as nebulous as possible in respect to validity, when you finally do, if you do take the right course and start posting things legitimately, you've already lost a good deal of trust. And that's sometimes irreparable. And if it's even there's any part of it that can come back to you, I mean, I think most of the time the damage has been done. But that's unfortunate unless you reinvent yourself a little bit and perhaps present things repackaged. I think that stigma might stick with him for quite some time, unless there's something that happens or that he can do that really blows that out of our memory. Saying, okay, this person is legit. This is fantastic what he's doing today. Let's keep moving forward with him. But again, there are lots of people out there who are like Tyler, but do not have the same notoriety or the name. And it's just unfortunate because, even if some of these people did have good intentions, in the end, look at what we're getting. Look at what we're getting. It's unfortunate. Now, very quickly, I'm curious, why did you pick the other characters in your show that you did? You had Phlebe, you had Cynthia, and Lou Elizondo. What was your decision and process in that creation of coming up with those characters?
So Lou, I had that clip from Lou that I had put together from another video where he just kind of loops himself over and really says nothing. And the creation of the Lou character was based upon all of the commentary that I've heard from Lou Elizondo, where the guy flaps his gums and says squat. It's all the same buzzwords. It's all the same: potential threat, UAPs, international partners, blah, blah, blah. And when you really cut through all of it and blow away all the smoke, there's nothing left, And here the guy's been going for 4 years, just flooding our field and the official record, going on every talk show that'll have him, all the way starting with, CNN and Tucker Carlson and, then George Knapp got a hold of him, and now he's doing talk. He probably would come on my show if I asked. Well, maybe not after this. Maybe not now. But before I put out the April Fool's Day video, he probably would have. The guy will go on anybody's show, and the reason he's doing that is because he's an intelligence officer on a mission to flood the record with his story. No matter what you and I say right here, right now, Lou's got 1,000 times more footage out there of him saying his story. We'd have to go on every talk show and trumpet a counter story, and he's got it down. Lou's mission, I made fun of it when I had Cynthia say, "Oh, Lou is just part of a shady dark op that went bust." Lou's mission has been 100% successful. He got on with a rube like Tom DeLonge, dangled a little bit of ufology in front of his nose, which everybody knew he wanted since the Podesta emails came out. His name was in there. He was trying to get on with Hillary Clinton to be her ufology person. Come on. The guy, if ever there was a rube that someone could just be like, "Hey, here's some footage, dude. You're going to get rich off of this." And Tom DeLonge got rich off of that. Make no mistake. He made a ton of money off of that and offloaded a bunch of debt. But, I don't want to talk about all that until I have the facts and everything to throw up there. But it's all public record. I've seen in the documents, and it's shady what he did. It's borderline corrupt, But I don't think he's some kind of mastermind. He's just not that smart, But, Lou found him and was like, "Oh, I can use this guy," So that's where they're at. I wanted to make fun of Lou Elizondo for not saying anything, and I think I did a good job of that. I think people
well
got
executed.
the point.
Oh yeah. Oh God. Yeah.
But it's hard not to overkill that. You got to be careful with how you time your clips, because Lou blinking can, for too long can just be too much,
What do you mean? It's what we always see anyway. But yes, go ahead.
Yeah. So then the other two characters we had were, of course, Cynthia the alien, and I wanted an alien character that could kind of impart knowledge on us that was kind of condescending towards humans. So I made her this snappy teenage, saucy, sarcastic, duh, how do you not know that there's an afterlife type thing, and just, I wanted that type of character to impart knowledge and stuff. And that's where Cynthia was created. And then I thought, well, let's make her from another reality as well, but from Earth, so that way she can really look down her nose, because look at what we've done with the Earth compared to what they did with it, so I wanted that kind of humorous element. And, of course, we have the Area 503 computer, which I added the sarcasm subroutines for the show, which was interesting. Yeah. She's going to hack your stuff, man. I'm telling you. If you come into a blue screen, we're going to blame the computer, man. I'll tell you what. It's going to be her fault. I got those routines.
She's got it out for me. Believe me. So.
Yeah. So, and she brought her own thing, like once I gave her sarcasm subroutines, it just kind of, it filled itself out. And that's kind of how
Mhm.
I wrote it. And then Fleeb from the underworld, man, he was such a great character. He's so nice and personable, and that's really what I wanted was that juxtaposition of like this demon from the underworld where you think he should be like, I'm going to swallow your soul. And he's like, no, I brought you cookies and, it's wonderful to be here. And I forgive Tyler and things like that, like he's
I
such
love
a
the
nice
fondue.
guy. He loves the fondue. He's got a fondue fetish. So I created all those characters and then I would sitting down and I would just go through the segments of the talk show like I did the introductions and I was like, so Lou's introduction was quick because he didn't have anything to say, but everybody else's introduction I just kind of went through. So tell me what it's like to be a demon in the underworld. Tell me what it's like to be an alien from another dimension. Tell me what it's like to be the Area 503 computer. And then you just gotta get into character as them and write their responses. And that's really what I did for each one of the segments for Fact or Fiction, and then later when I brought in Tyler, then I added his element to it. And it gets real hard, to not write and talk. And, there's a lot of me in all of the characters that I do. But it's hard not to have Manny and everything, even though there's a little bit, I wanted the characters to be distinct. I didn't want people to listen to me for an hour. I wanted, when people are listening to Fleeb, I want them to feel like it's Fleeb and not just Manny with a voice mod and a face rig,
Well, I mean, even listening to the show and going through, which is a nice, sizable, healthy hour long, by the way, guys, this isn't just a 15-20 minute presentation. This is an actual show that he did. You can't really tell, or at least I'm not getting the impression that it was always you behind certain voices. The characters are developed enough that you sort of just sink into the experience. And I don't really feel that separation there, wherein I know that it was you, behind everything, or I'm hearing your personality come out in the characters. It just wasn't the case. But I honestly can't say enough good things about what you just put together because I really am incredibly impressed. And I remember when you approached me with this and you had asked me to be a small part of it, which was great. I had recorded that for you and you used it perfectly. I was impressed then. Just looking at that, all the editing and everything that you had done, the retro feel, and some of those throwback references. The commercials were fantastic, man. What gave and we'll go with this and then we'll move into the disclosure stuff from here. But what gave you the idea to entwine some of those retro commercials as your sponsors?
Okay, so that's actually pretty funny, and a lot of this project is funny because the thing took on a life of its own. And I had put those retro commercials in my test videos. Like I had shown you a test run of it that didn't have anything and it just faded to black. But I had put them in one of the later test runs in order to give me a feel for the commercial breaks, for the pacing and everything. And when I saw them in there, I was like, you know what? I'm going to leave these as an intro into the regular ad breaks, which if we watched the premiere, there were no ad breaks, but I'm going to place ad breaks there tomorrow. I'm going to let it run the whole day today with no ad breaks. And I'm going to place ad breaks there on YouTube the YouTube ad system. But I thought, you know what? I'm just going to leave those retro ads in because they're so cool and they all kind of fit the theme, like Shatner with the VIC-20,
Yes.
the ActiFed commercial and they're talking about the new space shuttles, and I was like, wow, that's cool, man. Like, it's all cool and it all fit the theme. So I was like, let's just run with it, and even the Taco Bell commercial, there was that UFO that flew in with the burger on it. And I was like, oh, I got to put the UFO in. It's just great. And then Tom Peterson's is a local appliance store that has been out of business for a long time, but was real big in the 80s and until they closed, and they had a big marketing campaign and stuff. But it was just a local Portland thing. That's how he made his way in there, because he's just iconic of that era in Portland,
That's
and I always
cool.
like to, I always tip the hat to Portland.
Well, that being said, Manny, if you don't mind here, you provided us with a clip here, or a trailer of sort, I believe. We're going to watch that. Is there anything you want to say about this before we do that?
Yeah, this is just a short clip from the outtakes and the gag reel from the making of, which is going to be out on my video or on my channel next week, I think, or sometime in the next few days, maybe. It's just some short clips of the outtakes and stuff, but it's pretty funny. We can go ahead and play it.
Excellent. Here, let me pull this up for everyone to see. There we go.
Oh, let's start it. There we go.
really a nice guy.
So now I can't even go watch this Snarf game over in the Andromeda Galaxy, and all the boys will be there.
Snarf? What kind of game is Snarf anyway? It sounds like something you would do after the lights go out. It's not really appropriate.
Thank you, Manny, and thank you. Well, Manny, it does slightly resemble a cylinder-shaped crevice. Gimbal? UFO? I have no idea, Manny.
It's true, cause bitches ain't shit, but they still legit. We hit 'em up.
California knows how to party.
California knows how to party.
In the city of light.
In the city of Portland. I don't remember the rest of that song, sorry.
However, the real question, Manny, should be...
Thank you, Manny. This object I can only describe as a fast-moving UFO. You know how hard it is to talk with a lisp to try to imitate a guy who, voice actor? You're a voice actor, bro. Why the would you get a big dumbbell put in your tongue? Oy.
Manny? And Manny, don't forget about the fondue.
Oh my god, I know. Lou, right? Like, wow. Lou, why? I swear, why is he even here? Oh my god, I can't believe. I'm gonna be so embarrassed if my friends ever see that I was on the same talk show with Lou. Ugh. Oh. Hi, Lou. I didn't see you there.
All right, I'm gonna mute myself here.
Oh, shit.
Oh my
might have
god,
laughed.
dude. I was dying, dude. I was dying. I mean, Jesus, you might have a career in this. I'm just saying. Good Lord.
Between that and my trailer voice, you know, like, in another world where Manny travels the wastelands alone.
Oh my god, that was so well done. I hope everybody out there in the chat enjoyed that as much as we did. My god, I'm literally crying over here. I was laughing so hard. Just the subtleties, the unique subtleties that you use in the comedic timing it's just perfect, man. And that's certainly something that is very difficult to learn, and more often than not, it's a natural ability. So thank you very much for that show today, Manny. And again, anybody who hasn't seen it, please go and check it out. If you enjoyed the last clip, it's only a small sample of the humor that is in the entire show. Fantastic stuff. All right, so let's move on now to some of the topics at hand, the hot topics that we've been sort of discussing here. But again, Manny, we haven't sat and talked publicly for a little while, so we'll kind of bring it back a little bit and move forward as we can. But the first thing I want to bring up here is your thoughts on the 180 days disclosure. Okay, this thing sort of popped up on the back of a relief bill, and all of a sudden we're promised in 180 days that much would be disclosed to us. What do you think about the process so far in respect to what they've given us, many things redacted, and what do you think the end all of this will actually be?
The end all of it. You know, let's come back to that. Let's start at the beginning. What's the process going to be? What have we seen already? We're going to get some redacted documents. I think we're going to see more of the same. I don't suspect that we're going to see any new footage, but maybe we will. But we can expect things that are similar to Tic Tac Gimbal and some of the other stuff where it's things that were commonly known and or leaked to the public already. I don't think, in short, we're going to see any real disclosure out of it. And unfortunately, I think it's more of a ploy, maybe, And in fact, we just recently saw the same thing happen over in Russia, where they're forcing or they're choosing to disclose some documents as well. The timing of that is a little suspect. It makes me wonder if there's a, I don't want to go too far into a weird conspiracy type thing, but if there's a faction that's trying to force disclosure in these countries in order to get documents put out, or something. I don't know what the end game to that could be, but the timing of it's suspect. That it's happening in two countries at the same time, and maybe even more that we're just not knowing about. Maybe the same thing's going on over, in the UK and, some other countries. But the end game, I don't think we're going to see anything. I think, unfortunately, I feel like disclosure has already happened as far as good as we're going to get it. Almost 20 years ago, Stephen Greer sat in the National Press Club and poured his heart out with a bunch of witnesses that should have changed the way the world viewed ufology, alien life, UFOs and things. And there was an event that happened a few months later called 9/11 that everyone remembers, and they don't remember the press, release, the press clip release that they made. I think that was the start of something. Should have been, if anything would have tipped the scales, I think that would have been it. And people can say, well, we weren't ready for it. We were, everyone was. People have been ready my whole life for this, as far as I'm concerned. We just need to get it out there,
Well, if we go to the root of what we were talking about here, disclosure, okay, what does then actually mean? I think many people assume that disclosure means that we'll know something about alien life or that there's some involvement in that respect. Personally, I believe that it has to do with the technology. Now, it gets a little bit slippery here because if the governments were to make us privy to certain high technology that they may have, of course, the question then comes, from where did we get it? And if there's no reliable origin and we did indeed get something that was back engineered or outright given to us, well, then we're going down a completely different road. And in my opinion, I think that they would do as much as they could to avoid a situation like that. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. In fact, I would go so far as to say that they would never allow a situation like that. There is zero probability that I can think of where the Department of Defense is going to come out and admit that they've been lying to us for 80 years. It's just not going to happen. They will find other ways to disclose the truth if they need to, but they probably don't want to, because if they have that technology, then they're going to want to do exactly like they did with the Salvatore Pais patents, and they're going to want to wait until they think somebody else is going to discover it and then try to patent it right beforehand. So that might be what we're seeing with some of that. But they are never, ever, even if it's true, which I believe it is, I believe that they've had technology for years. I believe the Bob Lazar story. I do. I've been vocal about it since day one, and I always will be until someone can really slam me on my opinions, like, change my mind. I'll play that game. I'll sit out there in my Kool-Aid stand, change my mind, but, yeah, so I think that the technology's been there. I think the way that disclosure is happening, and I'm glad that we're talking about it now. I recently had a comment on one of my videos where it was actually it was kind of a negative comment, and the guy took it down, and I'm sorry that he did, because I wanted to screen grab it for this, and he's like, he's slamming me. He's like, you're going to be obsolete someday. They're teaching me in college about, life on other planets and stuff. And I thought to myself for a second, I was like, well, there you go. I had an epiphany there where I was thinking, they're already teaching the next generation about alien life, microbial life on other planets that we probably did not start here, but they're not blasting it in the mainstream to the people who it's going to rock the boat, which is the older generation or older generations. But they are teaching about life on other planets to students in college nowadays, and that's what this comment said. And I'm glad that this person said that. I'm really glad that they made this comment, because like I said, it opened my eyes to what's going on a little bit more. I'm like, they're never going to come out and tell you and me that they've been lying for 80 years, but they are going to start teaching kids now that there's microbial life everywhere. There's probably life on Enceladus Europa, these icy moons with oceanic life underneath the thick crust. It's probably there. We just got to go find it. And if it's here in our solar system in such abundance, it has to be everywhere in the universe in abundance as well. It has to be.
I agree.
What are the statistic odds that, unless it's an intelligent design and our solar system is special for some reason that we can't fathom. But once we get outside it, I have a feeling we're going to find that things look very similar in other solar systems, just depending on where we catch them in their evolution, or where they catch us.
I think it's more difficult to wrap my head around the concept or notion that we are alone and a singularity is floating in space somewhere and there's nothing outside of that. Everything's devoid of life. To me, that doesn't make any sense, and certainly doesn't mirror what I witness in nature, even in our smaller, microcosm, if you will. I think, it would be silly of us to assume that there isn't anything, but even worse, to have a closed mind to anything that could be found, microbial or otherwise. It doesn't necessarily have to be something so sentient that you're sitting having a conversation with it. It can be bacteria. It can be some sort of virus. There's been discussion about certain origins of viruses here on Earth that may have been brought by, meteorites or something like that. Again, these are thoughts that people have discussed. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you 100%, Manny. There are many different planets. Proxima is an example that we could very easily get to within a couple few years, and who knows what would happen if we were actually able to colonize that. Now, that being said, recently there was a tweet, I believe, that was put out by Elon Musk, wherein people are saying that they see an unidentified flying object in the picture. Have you seen this?
I think I glanced at it and I thought it was maybe the Ingenuity drone, but that Ingenuity hasn't been deployed, so it shouldn't be in the air. But yeah, I haven't really looked at it all that much. I think I saw the tweet, but I didn't really dig into it and zoom up on it or whatever. But yeah, if you've got it, let's take a peek.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull this up right now so we can just have a peek, if I can find the damn thing. Okay. Okay, here it is, and I'm gonna pull this up here. It is incredibly hard to see. You guys may have some difficulty, so I'll try to put a link to the picture in the description here. Give me 1 second. Let me just pull this together, and bada bing. Okay. I wonder if I can make this bigger. Nope. Okay. So unfortunately, I can't make this too much bigger, and this is going to be really difficult to see. I will provide that link in just a moment. But for all intents and purposes, right over here, I believe is what we're talking about. There's this small speck that's hovering above the mountain range at the horizon. Manny, are you able to see this real small speck?
I can just very vaguely see it on your screen. I'm gonna try to pull it up on my computer here too.
Here, let me just bring this. I'm gonna put this in the chat room right now so you guys can go ahead and check it out with us. All right. So there is the picture, if anybody would like to follow. In the meantime, I'm just trying to get the picture a little bit bigger. I don't think it's going to happen. Anyway, all right. So, yeah, I mean, I won't spend too much time on this. I just thought it was curious that this was something that was out there and a possibility for Elon. Do you think that Elon Musk, in his heart of hearts, believes that there might be something on Mars already, or that we've been visited in many various ways over the years? Or do you think he's really sticking to his guns in respect to what he claims is ignorance when talking about this subject publicly?
I don't know what he said about it publicly, but I do know what he said about Mars and what his priority is for going there. I mean, I don't know what he said about the UFO subject, but as far as Mars goes, he's of the understanding that at some point something's going to destroy the planet Earth. A big meteorite is what he's thinking, and it's just a matter of time, and that if we spread to another planet, even if it's in our same solar system, that we liken the chances of humanity surviving a catastrophic event. I mean, it really is that philosophical is why he's explained why he wants to go to Mars and why he has the pressure. And it's not just him. This has been an administration goal in the United States since, 2004, I think. They've been pushing it. So it's not just him, but he has been a big part of it. He's been there all the way. And that is why, is because he wants to see humanity survive. He wants to see us go to other planets and beyond. You know, there was a tweet that he made where he said, and it kind of talks about what you said earlier about our solar system and our planet being unique. He said, if we're stuck on Earth or if we can't leave our solar system, what a sad existence for humanity, because the universe is so big. You know, it's so huge. There's so much out there to explore. And that's, you know, that's what excites me about it. You know, like when I was a kid, I would go to the library and look in encyclopedias and check out the travel videos just to go see what Europe looked like and China and different countries. I couldn't go there. I'm a rug rat from Portland, Oregon. I was lucky to have a Slurpee sometimes, you know, but, you know, I wanted to know, you know, and now that the internet's out there and everything is in the palm of our hands, I feel like the world is this big, you know, and I feel like there's almost no more or reality, you know, like there's no more exploration, there's no more unknown until I look out into space and I'm like, oh my God, there's a whole universe of unknown out there. You know, like there's a whole new genre and generation of Magellans and, you know, cartographers and scientists and explorers that are going to go out and explore that. It's happening. You know, and it's happening now. You know, we're doing it from Earth with our radio telescopes. We're doing it from space with our, you know, solar telescopes, you know, things like that. And we're going to be doing manned missions soon. It's going to happen. And from then on, I think the ball is just going to keep rolling and it's just going to pick up steam and we'll be out of here soon. We'll be on other planets, you know, and I hope it's in my lifetime. I just want to see it. I want to see it, you know. So.
I would too, and I'm very much for the exploration of space and perhaps the colonization of other planets if done in the correct manner. Now, my question is this. Obviously, the implications are there if we're out in the you know, outer spheres, if you will, away from our planet. There's possibly a chance that we could more readily run into something not of the Earth, obviously for the reasons there. But that being said, if a colony is erected on Mars or the moon, as they've been talking about as well, will we have communication personally with our loved ones who have decided to embark on this trip? Will there be any correspondence? And if there is, will there be a filter that comes through within what they talk about or what they say they found? Because, excuse me, it'd be very easy to, you know, knock into something of intelligent life on one of these celestial bodies, then send that notion back to the Earth, only for that to be truncated at some point and the signal never really reaching, you know, the vast majority of our ears. What are your thoughts on that? And how would they possibly, you know, keep people from knowing what was going on?
Well, historically speaking, space missions have been military or government funded and not private funded. And so it's real easy to censor information because everybody signs NDAs. They're part of your Air Force, your astronaut program, whatever it is, and everybody's on lockdown. Will that change now that it's becoming more public sector? Maybe. I mean, if somebody books a ride on a starship and they you know, take a video on their phone, how can they stop people from taking that video? You know, so that part I'm not real sure about. You know, they're talking about the low Earth orbit space hotel. The same thing will probably go there. If they've got a space hotel, how can they stop people from communicating? You know, I don't think they can. I think they're ready to open up that element of space to us. In fact, they've stopped censoring a lot of the space launches for, you know, Falcon 9s, things like that. They used to, you know, in the lower, you know, parts of the stages, they would censor the feeds because they would say that you could make out details that were national security on the ground and crap like that. And, you know, they've stopped doing that. You very rarely see the ISS feeds, any of the feeds get dropped anymore. So I think they're ready to show us what's out there because people are so used to seeing things float by in space. And unfortunately, there's all kinds of people out there, like we were talking about earlier, that'll take that footage and be like, it's a UFO, you know? So there's people out there fanning that flames and, you know, what do they have to worry about? You know, I mean, a YouTube channel saying that a UFO is a UFO isn't going to rock the world. You know, there's hundreds of pieces of good footage out there that people can't explain, but they still explain away, you know? So I don't think they're afraid to show it to us. But.
Well, that's interesting that you're mentioning this too, because to me, it seems like if they are rolling out some sort of soft disclosure, it would be for the reason that they've known that there are other things out there, and that if we are going to colonize and, you know, be out in space the majority of our time, that we will come across something that is verifiable, and we personally will know that there is something more out there. The extent of that may still be hidden for quite some time, but I think this soft disclosure here with the media and, you know, entertainment and all the stuff that we've talked about throughout the years, this very slow trickle is leading up to knowledge that is already there, but only for a certain group of people. Inherently, I think, again, if we were going to really explore space the way that we would like to, we would have to be ready to entertain that possibility in a very realistic fashion. And what better way to very easy and slowly trickle this into people's consciousness rather than slap them all at once and create some sort of chaos?
Yeah, you know, that argument is probably could go back to Roswell. You know, that's probably what the powers that be, that's probably the discussion that they had at the time. It's like, you know, or even before that. I mean, we really don't know where this technology came from. Was it part of Overcast and Paperclip? Was it technology that crashed? Was it something that we found in a bunker over in Europe somewhere? I mean, we don't know. But if you look at the advancement of technology from, you know, the end of World War II on, you got to see that it's there. You know, you look at what humanity did in 100 years before that versus, you know, the time since then. And it's just like we're moving at a rapid pace, technologically wise. Yeah, so I don't know where it's going now. I just don't know. I don't know what the soft disclosure would be. I don't know. Like I said, I don't think that they're going to ever come out and just say it. I don't think that they'll ever admit that they've had it all along. But I think at some point when some form of evidence comes out, then they will have to admit, well, you know, we might have known or whatever. Will they ever admit that if they had contact? Now that's another question. Let's look at another hypothetical. All right. Hypothetically speaking, let's say there is some kind of contact. Let's say that there was some kind of agreement made at some point to allow a time frame for humanity to disclose alien life. What would that look like? You know, maybe it wasn't technology that was captured after the war. Maybe it was a life form and technology, you know? And maybe there wasn't what's the J-Rod? Maybe there was some kind of J-Rod agreement made where people were like, you know, and he's like, all right, well, what do you think you'll need to tell humanity? Oh, 100 years. Yeah, we can get it done in 100 years. So bam, 100 years they set this thing. Well, the clock's ticking and we're coming down to the wire. Maybe something happens at the end of that agreement that you can't just talk your way out of a treaty or whatever. Maybe something will happen. Maybe somebody or something will show up and say, hey, we're here. You know,
I'm just waiting for this meteorite to hit our civilizations and completely decimate everybody. And then a culture many years in the future, you know, scouring around Washington, D.C. somewhere in the rubble, if you will, comes across these freaking documents and go, oh, motherfuckers, they knew. Look, it's like our hieroglyphs, you know, we knew. But, you know, I agree. No, I agree with that. You know, there is obviously a group of folks that is really controlling things and running and making decisions. You know, we're more or less a second best in terms of opinion on how things should go. So that being said, I mean, you can only keep a secret for so long. Eventually it comes out in one way or another. And that could be something as simple as saying there's a civilization buried in Antarctica. And as the ice melts, we're now, you know, it's now revealed what was there. And this, you know, could have been something that people knew about for a very long time, but only a select few kept keeping it a secret. Could be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years before somebody finds this out, but eventually people do. Now, it's interesting. In a minute or two, I'm going to show you this really interesting mothership craft that was captured in Uruguay. And ThirdPhaseOfMoon and the panel have been going over this for the last few days. And the reason that I think we've extended it to what it was is because we had a second source that had a picture of this craft, and it wasn't just the original video. And I'd like to get your take on that in just a moment. But let me ask you while I pull that up, what have you been up to during your hiatus? Were you still working with any of the analysis, or were you just taking a break in general, recharging the batteries? What were you up to when you weren't around?
So I was still doing research, and I was just filing stuff away for when I was coming back, and I was taking a break definitely to recharge. You know, we had a pretty brutal year up here in Portland, and I felt it, personally in some ways, you know. So I just needed to take a little time to recharge and take a little breather. but I was still doing research. I was still collecting UFO sightings. I was still doing research for my videos and collecting all that. Because as I mentioned to you in private once, I said I'm a data junkie and I keep everything, and I do. When I find links, I put them in text files. When I keep clips, I've got folders. Everything's organized and stocked away. So I probably have 20 or 30 folders right now that are full of stuff for future videos. As soon as I get around to, I want to work on that one. I want to work on that one. So they're just sitting there waiting for me. But that's what I was doing, just recharging and doing research at the same time and refocusing and trying to figure out how I wanted to really come back with energy and bring the A game. So that's what I did.
Awesome. No, I figured as much. And yeah, we all do need a break sometimes, and it's good to recharge those batteries. Okay, so I have found the video here, and this is the first time I think we broke it. I'll put this up. Give me just a second here.
I might have seen this one if it's the one I'm thinking of. It might, if Richie played it on GUFON last night. Yeah, I might have seen it.
Okay,
I'll know when you pop it up.
Yeah, I'll just show it very quickly, and those who are not familiar, I noticed a lot of names here I recognize. Hey, Auntie Putherer, nice to meet you, brother. Thank you for being here at the show with us. All right, let's get it on.
Yeah, let's take a peek. I'm excited.
Welcome back to Third Phase of Moon. Blake Cousins here. We got a special report for you today. Moments ago, I
received Blake?
An incredible video from Montevideo, the capital of Uruguay.
Hey, Joey Hayes.
A citizen there was driving in his pickup truck. He looked up into the night sky and noticed something massive. He began to proceed and pull out his cell phone, and he captured one of the most incredible videos of a mothership that I've seen in a long time.
Un poco el foco. Cambia de colores. De todos los colores. Esto solamente se ve a través de el parabrisas de la camioneta. Estoy adentro de la camioneta y filmándolo a través de...
Is it a mothership? Is it something extraterrestrial in origin? Or is this some kind of secret Space Force program?
All right, so let's talk about this for just a moment here. There is a picture that I'll bring up in a moment that's a little bit clearer, but the first thing I want to bring up that has been proposed is this might be a reflection of a car radio in the glass as he's filming it. Now, as that theory is approached, we have to keep in mind that there's another picture from a different angle, from a different source, another eyewitness who is also seeing this. So to me, I don't necessarily think that it's a reflection that we're seeing here. What are your first thoughts when you see this video, Manny? I'm very curious to hear what you think, man.
It's interesting for sure. There's some lighting there, and it looks like a ship is like a long flat ship is there. But I've got a question: is the guy in the car? Is he in a car? And it sounds like he's in a car and is moving. So you've got you've got retrograde motion that you're dealing with there, and reflections from the glass. It's going to be hard to tell if there's anything there or not. I would like to translate his audio. I'm curious if he actually saw it with his naked eye versus only with the phone. If he saw it with his naked eye, then it's not a reflection, right? I mean, I guess it could be, but it's less likely. And the fact that there's a photograph from a second witness, now I'm not sure how you could explain that. If it was a second witness in the car with him, if it was a car radio.
From what I understand, they were not related at all.
Yeah, if it was the isolated one, if it was one piece of video or one image, I would go with the car stereo. Yeah, you see that? I was thinking that same thing with the purple and the green. I was like, God, that looks like an old Sony I had, but maybe not. It's, how do you explain it with two different witnesses? Like if they don't know each other and their story's authentic, they don't know each other. I can't explain that. If they were sitting in the same car or if they were organizing to hoax, maybe. But there's no evidence to show that, so I wouldn't assume it. It's just a possibility, one of many. But yeah, it's a pretty good sighting,
It's crazy. I mean, look at all these lights. I mean, the majority of them are one unified color, save for the bit of purple on the anterior or the back of the craft. I'm not sure what it is. But, if this is indeed, well, okay, let's put it this way. It's been verified that it is in its environment. Okay. So it is an actual sighting. There's no CGI involved. I believe that much has been established. But that being said, if this isn't, something hoaxed, do you think this might be our technology, or do you think this might be something off world? And the reason I'm asking you this sort of simplistic question is because I think we're seeing a lot more of our back engineered technology in the sky as of recently with the uptick in UFO sightings that have been out.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that could be, honestly. If it was a reverse engineered craft, you would assume it's something military, and it looks more honestly, it looks like something more commercial. It looks like a passenger, like a boat or something with portholes, like or a ship with windows on it. Maybe I don't know. It doesn't look like it's not a standard UFO that's circular. It's not an orb. There's no displacement around it, and And like I said, I thought the movement was due to him being in a car, but if he says that he saw it and there's another witness and it was moving from the other witness's angle, boy, that's damn strange. I don't know. What could be out there? A blimp? I mean, what could it be that we made? I mean, what could make that? It's not a blimp. I mean, I suppose it could be with the big LED or something on it, but
you know what it reminds me of when I'm looking at it initially? It reminds me of when you would see a cruise ship out on the horizon at night where everything's lit up, but there's these, different tiers that you could make out that would obviously go in line with the floors and so forth. But if it isn't a floating cruise ship and it isn't an airship from Final Fantasy, as I mentioned in my analysis, I don't know what in God's name this actually could be, if there's actually something in the sky. And again, it is dark, so you don't get the whole outline of the object. And I mean, for all we know, maybe there are some sort of wings that are there. But the perturbing part of all of this is that it was stationary, at least insofar as we could tell from the 22-minute video clip, which was, albeit very short, but nonetheless, it was stationary, just hovering in the air. You know what? Third Phase of Moon, and it's not just because I like the guys, I enjoy the channel, I'm friends, I work with them. They really do bring some of the most interesting and provocative sightings to the table every single day. It's really cool to wake up in the morning knowing that I'm going to get a phone call wherein I just scratch my head for a while and then talk about what we're seeing. It's really cool, man. But yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate it, and I wanted to get your take on it. I had a strong feeling that you would have something to say if we sat down and discussed that sighting. So let me ask you this, though. Okay, now we'll just kind of move over into another area. It's still a little bit of woo, but we can't get away from that entirely, can we? Aliens and the paranormal. Okay, extraterrestrials and the paranormal. This has been a hot topic also over the last year. People want to know if there is some sort of correlation. Now, I don't believe that you and I talked about this on our last interview, but if I did, I'm sorry. It was almost a year ago now that we sat and had this conversation. But where do you stand on that theory? Is it possible that some of the paranormal activity that we experience may be caused by aliens or extraterrestrials or some more sort of interdimensional being not necessarily associated with the Earth? And to kind of push that point a little further, we have many reports of people, and I have found them in abundance, folks who see unidentified crafts or have some sort of interaction or abduction experience, wherein after that, the rest of their lives, they are experiencing high levels of paranormal activity. What are your thoughts on that?
An advanced technology to an less advanced species would appear to be magic, right? Excuse me.
Indeed.
So along those lines, wouldn't technology, to me, it wouldn't be too hard to see technology also looking like something like paranormal or supernatural, or maybe it's not even technology, maybe there's some sort of, how can you imagine if a telepathic being were to come down and try to communicate with you? How do you describe that to somebody? How do you, how would you? Somebody touched your brain, your mind, your consciousness, or another creature, especially something from another planet. How do you know that wouldn't just drive you insane and send you to the rubber room, and
it completely puts your paradigm upside down.
Right. And maybe it's been happening. And let's just say it has been happening. Let's say visitations have been happening for 10,000 years. Let's just pick a number, in a less, advanced time, people would probably get locked up. They would think that they were demonic or possessed. Things would happen to them. They would call them witches. If they said, "Oh, some alien talked to me and said, talked to me and told me that there was life on other planets and that we need to get our act together and they're coming to visit or whatever." Nowadays, people would think that you're crazy, if you said that. If you didn't have hardcore proof, if you weren't standing there with Xynthia in hand, people would say you're full of crap. Even if you had video, they'd find reason not to believe it. And
that's, I think, the human condition too, in a lot of ways, to have that resistance to change. And when you're talking about something on such an enormous level as, a disclosure, global disclosure, I mean, yes, it will change everything. Now, do I think that it's necessarily a negative thing? No, not entirely. I think initially people might have some trouble adapting and changing that thought. And basically, again, it's not just a lifestyle that you're changing. You're changing the way that you now think, because there's other possibility. And I'll give you a quick example that's very intangible, but one that I can correlate very well. For quite some years, I was hearing many different what you might call downloads or something along those lines, wherein I was receiving information, but it was consistent. And I realized at one point that I was able to actually channel this in a clairvoyant sort of way. When I got to that point, I asked a couple questions that were just very one-off kind of things that didn't have any real significance to, what we talk about. And immediately I received those answers. I went through with emotion, either was looking for something or what have you. Long story short, these couple questions were verified by my experience. I got exactly what I was told was going to happen or what have you. And I thought to myself, wow, if that's the case, if we can just ask and get the answer, well, let's just ask any question we possibly have on our mind. Is Bigfoot real? Are there UFOs? Blah, blah, blah. If it's that easy to access that sort of information, wherein it might be to certain degrees when we have some sort of disclosure and we start interacting with different species. Now, that's going to be a very difficult thing for people to adapt to, I believe, because, again, it's like you being somebody who doesn't realize that thoughts manifest, or that thoughts have a very driving force in what we experience in terms of reality. So you walk along the street, somebody pisses you off, you're like, son of a, but you're saying it in your head and you think you're safe, because you're expressing it to yourself, but actually you're building this energy around you and it's affecting you and you don't even realize it. Sorry, I think I got off topic there, but I think this stuff is really, really related in a lot of ways. And we are a very integral part of this process. If it weren't for us, there would be no disclosure. I know that sounds stupid to say, but think about it for a moment. Okay. And we have to be ready to a certain degree to accept something like that and then sustain it. You do it too soon, it could ruin the civilization. Civilization.
Yeah,
it could
right.
ruin the civilization if you do it too prematurely. But you do it at the right time, then maybe we'll just follow in the footsteps of all of our cultural ancestors who did have interactions in their own way.
So as far as timing goes, let's take another hypothetical. Let's say 100 years ago, alien contact was made with some governments or whatever, or 200. As far as that goes, I don't really see them. I kind of touched on it in, what was it? I did a video called "The Case for Extraterrestrial Life" or Alien Disclosure. And I said something in there where, that they're, what was that? Alien disclosure. Anyways, I forgot what I was going to say there, but the governments, even if they were in contact, they're just never going to come out and say it to us. And I called it the Great Lie. I called it the Great Lie because it's a big lie, and it's had negative effects on probably billions of human lives. Everyone who's lived since that lie was told, who lived in poverty or who, got sick and died prematurely because of healthcare conditions and things that could have been different if the lie had never been told, if disclosure would have been made way back when, and they just ripped the Band-Aid off to begin with. Whatever damage would have been done would have been 3 generations old by now. Yeah. But instead, there's been 3 generations of suffering that, in my opinion, didn't have to happen. And there is still happening today. There's people that are dying of diseases that could have been cured, I believe, and things like that, the world could be a lot different place. And, You know, that's the best case for just ripping the Band-Aid off, in my opinion, is just to end the suffering, you know, end the suffering around the world, you know.
Well, it's easier for us to see because we're at the front line of that. You know, the folks that have the power to give us this disclosure, in doing so, they automatically relinquish that certain control and that certain power. So I don't know if that's something that they want to do at all. I mean, I'd say yet, but I mean at all, given the state of human nature and what I've witnessed and observed. So, yeah, I mean,
so that's the number one thing with power structures. Okay, like you look at like the Bitcoin brothers or other industries that were unregulated, and they fight regulation right up until the fact that they realize it's inevitable, and then they embrace it and say that it's their idea all along, so that they can be in charge of how they're regulated. Well, that's the same thing with disclosure. These same institutions are going to fight it until it's inevitable, and then they're going to embrace it and be like, "No, we were your friends. We told you all along. You just didn't listen." Yes. Oh, and the only thing for them I got is the sixth finger, you know, like that's it, you know.
Oh God, yes. You know, like, but then that will give more translucence to the entire operation and the lies. Again, this is really spinning a snowball in doing something like disclosure, because now we're going to start looking back at the last hundreds of years and trying to figure out where people have lied and where people were being truthful, knowing that they actively lied to us and it's been admitted in certain ways. So, I mean, again, to say that this would be far reaching and very impactful is to honestly sell that short of a description of what we're going to find here in respect to disclosure. But again, you know, we're just sitting here talking, and I don't think that they're going to uproot our society in such a way. And again, if it comes down to anything, it's my belief, again, this is purely my thoughts here, I think that we're going to have disclosure personally. It'll come from the individual, or it will come from groups of people, which eventually will merge with that same mentality and knowledge that eventually there's going to be a majority of people on the planet who know about this definitively. But we're waiting for that smoking gun evidence. We're waiting for it. And sometimes it is shoved in front of our face. It's unfortunate that people like Phil Schneider are not still around, because he was traveling with a mess of different off-world materials that he would show at the lectures that he did. Now, you know, when you look at something like that, and you were watching, you know, the memory metals that, you know, I remember distinctly. Okay, it was just a piece that was about this size. You know, you crinkle this thing up, looks like tinfoil, whoop, pops right back out into the perfect you know, smooth shape that it was before. There were no wrinkles at all. I mean, this memory metal, we actually have this now in certain capacities, but they're in privatized corporations and businesses wherein they don't need to tell anybody what they have. So
yeah, I've seen the documents for memory metal. I think it's a mix of titanium and aluminum. And when you heat it to a certain temperature, or, you know, and sometimes you can just rub it with your hands, it'll like get to certain shapes. And they've been using it for the technology for, I'm not sure how long that's been around, honestly, but I just read up a little bit about that not too long ago. And I immediately thought about the same statements of the Roswell UFO crashed materials that were recovered there, where they said that they had recovered some memory metal and some other pieces of fragments with runes on them and stuff. I think that was part of Corso's story, but I'm not sure exactly where those statements came from off the top of my head. But there was some similar materials recovered back then, and that makes you wonder, is it something that we just have, it took us that long to reverse engineer to figure out how to recreate it? You know, I've thought this for a long time, man. You know, like back in the 90s, I was sitting at a lecture that Andy Grove was giving. He's one of the founders of Intel and one of the guys who came up with the original x86 architect for the integrated processors. And he said something about why they had called it the x86 was it was the 86 version of the chip that they had built that didn't just completely melt down. And I'm thinking to myself, holy crap, man, who builds 86 of the same damn thing without making a few tweaks to keep trying to, you know, like it's almost like they knew if they kept going down this path, there was something was going to pop up there. You know, how did they know that? You know, how were they given this circuit to integrate, you know? And that whole name just sketches me out anyways. Integrated circuit. Ugh. What are you integrating? But But yeah, so, that made me kind of look at things a little differently. I was like, man, and I kind of felt like things were off for a long time, man. Even back then, I just didn't know, couldn't put my finger on it. But seeing the technology, growing up and watching how fast things were moving from, dial-up modems. My first modem was a 300 baud modem, and it was on a VIC-20, which was that computer that was in that William Shatner commercial. And that's why another reason I put that in. But, like now we've got 5G in our hands where you can download a gigabyte in 2 minutes. It's ridiculous. But, I've seen it all change. And so I've always felt that something was off. And it wasn't until I really started studying ufology, then I was like, oh, well, that explains it. They got this tech back then, and okay, I get it. Yeah, now we've been leaking it out to allies and disseminating it, and I like Colonel Corso's story. And the day after Roswell, it just strikes true, even though the guy doesn't have a shred of proof for anything that he says. But I want to trumpet his book as like gospel, Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. It's like, damn, give me one document, give me one picture, give me one other person who saw that. Yes, anything, man.
Something.
Give me a whiff of truth.
Very quickly, I want to thank Mr. DB Cooper 77 boom, 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 for the super sticker. And it's not just one, DB. Folks. It is 2 stickers. Thank you very much, my friend. I do appreciate that. And you, as you know, I know you from many different places, and I'm very happy to have you along for the ride here. And I see you all the time in the chat. Thank you so much, Mr. DB Cooper. Really appreciate that. We do survive on super chats. Folks, I'm taking off the ads except for the beginning and the end of all my videos because, through certain discussion, it's not worth putting you guys through that nonsense for what I'm doing. I don't have, I'm close to 2,000 subscribers. It's a nice number. But, for what you guys are watching, an hour and a half long video, you don't need to be interrupted with, scores of commercials that I make literally hay pennies on. So yeah, we're going that route. But thank you very much once again, Mr. DB Cooper. We're talking about these things, and a lot of times AI doesn't get addressed enough. I mean, this seems to be growing by leaps and bounds in terms of what it's capable of. I mean, I've seen appearances on talk shows wherein the hosts are speaking to, what's her name? Is it Cynthia or Samantha? I can't remember the AI it's pretty well known right now. But regardless, it's forever learning. It's forever growing. It's forever learning. Is this something that we should be worried about in respect to how it could be used and perhaps the people that have that sort of power? Or can we just sit back and accept that this is the next stage in our own evolution?
I think the answer to that is both. We need to be concerned, but we need to accept it because it's going to happen. And therefore, we need to be concerned about it and make sure that it's done right. And there's a ton of different companies that are working on it. Both Google and Microsoft have AI ethic committees that they've devoted to it. I'm not sure if SpaceX or any of the other tech companies have contributed on that or what, but I did kind of talk about it in my video where I made a joke about the computer wanting to take over the world a couple times. And that's that was kind of the little nod to that. It's like, we need to pay attention and we do need to do it right, but we don't need to be afraid of it. It's a technology like any other. And as we've learned with Facebook and Twitter and all these other tech industries, you can weaponize anything. And so, yes, at some point AI will be weaponized, of course. But we just need to make sure that the kill switches are in place and, that we have things in place to stop, something from going rampant. Will somebody want to try to do that at some point? Of course they will. Somebody's going to try to make an AI to do something nefarious, But...
No, I don't know if we should put as much stock as some people do, I think, into the channelings of certain extraterrestrial entities, although it's something that I very much entertain and personally have more stock in perhaps than the average person. But that being said, I still need to take everything that's said and expressed with a grain of salt. That being mentioned, it's been said many times that there have been species and civilizations, not only on our planet, but on neighboring planets, that have undergone a similar evolution that we are now in respect to this good Lord, I can't talk today. The discovering of certain technology, energy manipulation, frequency identification, and so forth, wherein, especially in the case of the gray aliens, again, this is something that has been proposed, that over time they became so technological that they actually forgot those biological parts of themselves that dealt with the intuitive, okay? And that also expressed itself in way of physicality too, where they lost their sexual organs over evolution. So again, the idea is that they are all created artificially, maybe through some sort of biological embryo staging or something like this. But that being said, they no longer have the capacity to feel that other balanced side of the right, if you will. And I say right in respect to right brain intuition and the creative energy. Well, I mean, sex and sexual energy is directly connected to creative energy and how you manifest things in the world. So it's really curious just to think about that as an option that we may be seeing our own civilization and planet take that course. And I hope that's not the case, because as you can tell, I mean, I like this body. This body looks pretty good. I mean, I have a face for radio, as Dave Scott might say. But that being said, I don't want to look like the Greys in a few million years. You know what I mean?
Not very attractive lads.
Gangly bastards. Hey, listen, Mr. Catfish, thank you very much, my friend, for the $10 super chat. He says, I hear you, man. Money doesn't grow on trees. Well, neither do people who have interest, and I appreciate and respect every single one of you. And anytime you guys donate, it's icing on the cake for me, because whether I was being paid for this or not, which I'm not usually, I'm doing it anyway, and I really appreciate you guys supporting me the way that you do. All right. So, okay. So, I've been talking to Jared Murphy an awful lot, and I don't know if you know who he is, but by and large, he's an author. I'm not going to give up now, because we've got 15 minutes left. And even though I can't trip over my tongue enough for you guys, here we go. Listen. So I've been talking to Jared Murphy. He's an author, and he's an archaeologist, and he's very versed when it comes to some of these realms of esoterica. Something that he brought up was soil engineering, and how this might be something that we used in the past in ancient cultures to, provide ourselves with much better food. And that's just to begin with, okay? But a lot of it had to do with the health stuff. Have you heard anything about engineered soil or the effects or results people have had playing around with this sort of thing?
I haven't really looked into it, so I'm not sure what that term actually means. I can imagine, what soil engineering looks like. But farmers have been doing soil modification for forever. I mean, you let a field go fallow for a season, that's soil modification, and then you start adding pesticides, fertilizers, things like that, which I'm not for. But I'm not sure exactly what the engineering is. If you're talking about engineering the bacteria in the soil to make for better crops.
Yes, I believe that is at the crux of what he's doing there. Yes.
There's a science behind it. It goes into making a good garden in your backyard. You do it with all the chemistry and whatnot. Could you replicate that in science? Absolutely. I don't see why not. It's all chemistry at some point, So.
Now, this is cool that we can sit and talk about this, right? And then maybe you or I will go off to the store and create our own engineered soil, wherein we'll get the effects or results that we, believe that we will. But how would you introduce that to people at large? Not even talking about just the United States, but, perhaps other countries who, are much less off in the way of any sort of wealth. How would you make that available to other people? See, here's the problem. I don't think in my heart of hearts that whoever it is, that body of folks that is controlling this planet, give two shits about anybody else here in respect to their own evolution and so forth. Whereas you and I might say, hey, that's our big plan, man. I want to share this with everybody because that's our experience. We're on that end. You know what I mean? We're not separated from reality in the way that perhaps these people are. But that being said, too, I know I'm making this long here. They're living in a different reality because they have a whole different paradigm of possibilities that they understand and know. And we can even talk about that in respect to time travel and so forth. Oh, boy. My God. Mr. Catfish. Brother, thank you so much for the $20 super chat. He says, don't worry, man. Angels come in different forms. Anything is possible. I actually got a wave of energy, and the hairs are sticking up on my arms. I know you can't see that, but I'm having a frisson type experience right now reading that, man. I feel your energy. Thank you very much, bro. I do appreciate it. And hey, Mr. Catfish, just a word of advice for you. Keep on those UFOs, bro, because you never know. One of us is going to catch it one day, and hell, it might be you, bro. So any encouragement I can give, I do, because we're all the same. We're all doing the same thing. Now, we have a little bit of time here, and I'd like to just very briefly, because I don't know how far we got into certain things last time, experiences that you've had with UFOs or UAPs or however you want to call them. Have you ever had experiences wherein you couldn't explain what you were seeing in the sky in that moment?
I've seen a lot of things that I couldn't explain at the time, but generally when I've dug into them, I found mundane explanations for everything. Honestly, I was out camping once and could swear that I saw Loch Ness monster. And it wasn't. It was actually a Triton class nuclear sub that was sneaking out of Puget Sound at night. It was sneaking
Easily
out at like
mistaken.
11:30. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, that's a nuclear sub. That ain't no Loch Ness monster, But that's about as close as it's gotten. And I look, man, every time I'm outside, I'm looking up. I'm looking up, and I've got my cameras and my phones, and I'm looking. And I filmed some stuff, but there was one piece that I saw, a weird plane flying around Portland. But as soon as I got the footage on it, I could tell what it was. It was a cop plane with a bunch of infrared sensor equipment on the bottom, which is why it looked weird on the video. Because it was a police plane that was flying around looking for people or whatever. But and that's why it wasn't running a transponder either, which I was really weird about. But yeah, I actually do. I sit around at home with flight radar and different ADB systems on my phones, just listening to everything that's flying over, but I've never actually seen anything, man. I wish I would love, because I would not be afraid at all. I would be one of those guys that walks up and is like, hey, what's up, dude? I'm Manny. Welcome to Earth, man. You want to go get some pizza?
Get some za, bro. Come on,
let's
you guys
roll.
don't have it out there.
Yeah, you already missed the snarf game. You might as well go get some freaking pizza. So hey, anyways.
Oh, I love that, man. That's so funny. Shit, I forgot what I was gonna say now.
Sorry.
Yeah,
man.
completely forgot. No, that's fine. Jesus, man. Yeah, I think it's if these civilizations are really as advanced as people are saying they are, and they're using telepathy to communicate within each other and synthenesia to drive some of these crafts and so forth, I think they might look at us the way that we look at a domesticated dog, for example, wherein they might understand what we're saying, but there's going to be a limit there. There's sort of a ceiling to that communication, and maybe that's just on us. Maybe it's our own evolution that we just have to get there. I honestly think that the way that any of these species are communicating on an etheric level is probably where we're headed eventually. No, we won't see it in this lifetime on a collective scale. Absolutely not. But you're going to see signs of it. For example, people talking about telepathy or saying that they have telepathy, or they can give a demonstration of sort. There are people who do say that. And it's the same thing with telekinesis, although I find telekinesis to be a much more... God, I'm very skeptical about telekinesis in certain ways, just because it's moving an object for the sake of the show. Okay, if you are able to do this, why would you do it? That's why I look at somebody like Sai Baba, and although Satya Sai Baba, I should say, and I say, well, it's interesting that he could wave his hand and manifest a sweet or some sort of trinket that he would then hand off to his followers and so forth. And I've looked at him many times, being a professional magician in my years. It just doesn't make sense why you would do it over and over and over and over again, wherein the possibility is there every single time for you to get caught in front of thousands of people doing this magic trick. Now, people do magic shows in front of folks all the time at that capacity. But then again, once in a while, they get caught. Or if there's another magician in the crowd, more often than not, we'll know what you're doing. So I couldn't see that with a figure like Satya Sai Baba. And again, the consistency of doing it. But again, coming back to the showmanship of it, what are you doing? I mean, it's a miracle, sure. You don't know how it's done. It's magic to the onlooker. So you're using that to sort of bolster your own image as being a god figure. Hey, listen, maybe it was something that actually happened. Maybe it was real. I know people who have actually met him when he was alive, and they were forever transformed in the most positive of ways. But I'm still very skeptical. But think that I can't help but think that's probably where we're moving on our own evolutionary scale, because it's not just the physical evolution; it's the mental, it's the emotional, it's the spiritual. If you want to look at it.
Yeah, so they say we only use a small percentage of our brain. Who's 10%? To say what's right? So that other 90% could develop into telepathic abilities, telekinesis. I mean, anything. I mean, you could go fire starter. Like who knows? I mean, it could go
exactly.
anywhere. we're not going to know until we get there, and it's silly to assume also that every single human being is at a static 10% of their mental capacity as well. There's 7 billion people on the planet. There's probably 7 billion variations where people are somewhere on a spectrum from 3% to maybe 20%. Who knows?
Yes.
There could be anybody out there, and you never know where you're going to find them. That's not going to necessarily be, Portland, Oregon. It might be in Mumbai or something, or in the Congo, so.
Well, look at the indigo children that people have been following for some years now, at least since the 80s, wherein the DNA is different from ours. They're resistant to disease, and there have been studies shown that they are using parts of their brain in percentages that we just aren't, and it's all natural. What do we got here? Muse J 13. Muse J 13. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but thank you very much for the $10 super chat. He says, Quincy, go buy some pizza tonight from Jim. Thank you, Jim. I very much appreciate that. I happen to absolutely love pizza, and we have some good pizza over here in Worcester, Massachusetts. Thank you very much, mate. I might just treat myself later. Thank you so much, man. Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see where things go. Again, I think that we're going to see the initial flashes of that path in our lifetime. But it's really up to us how quickly we evolve on these sort of things. Because again, like you said, there might be people out there walking around using more of their brain in an unconscious fashion, where the rest of us are, we're sitting at 10% happily, not knowing anything more about the other 90%. But see, that just blows my mind away. And I'd love to get somebody like Wild Trees, who's part of the Black Lotus production panel that I do with Damian Gray and Ralph Torlucci every single Sunday, who is a biologist. And I'd like to get his take on this at another point. So I'll probably ask him next time I see him. But hey, listen, Manny, we're going to close out the show at the moment here, but I want to thank you so much for coming on. And I want to remind everybody once again, go and check out Area 503's latest premiere. It was a little bit earlier this afternoon, and you will not be disappointed with this April 1st production. And please, of course, subscribe, like, and share his channel. Is there anything else you'd like to add to that? Sorry, how rude of me.
Yeah, if you don't subscribe, the computer is going to come after you. So you better head over there and just hit the button.
You don't want that computer after you, man. She's really, really cross with me. So and I keep forgetting about her. That's, I understand why.
She's a far better friend than an enemy, let me tell you.
Well, I can see that.
Yeah. So no, I'm glad I had a good time. Thanks for having me on the show, man, and for being such a good sport with playing along with being a part of
awesome. Disclosure
tonight. Yeah, it was a blast, dude. I'm glad we got to make it work and everything worked out great. So yeah, thanks again for having me on, and I look forward to coming back on here at some point and chatting with you guys again.
No less than raw talent, Manny. And it's not something I just tell anybody, but I was incredibly impressed by that show. Guys, go and check it out if you haven't seen it already. Yes, and I thank you, my friend, for being on the show. It's been a lovely conversation and has totally met all of my expectations going into this interview. And of course, it's always an awesome time and a pleasure to sit down with you and have conversation. You're just the sweetest dude, man, and you have a really good intention and a big heart for what we're doing. And I put all my faith and respect and energy behind you, brother.
Nice, thanks, man. I appreciate it, dude.
My pleasure. All right, so I'm going to take you off for just a moment. We'll close out the show, and I'll be back. All right, guys. Oh, my God. Mr. Catfish, the $10 super chat for you, bro, and the chat family. Good show, he says. Thank you so much, guys. Super chatters, I really appreciate it. I really can't say it enough that, you guys are the integral part keeping our channel afloat. I never ask for money. It's not about that. You guys give it out of the goodness of your heart and belief in what we're doing over here. And to me, that means the world. It's not about the physicality. Yeah, we all need food. We need to pay the rent. I need the room and the electricity to run the show. If I have that, I'm pretty happy, to be honest with you. I'm pretty simple. It doesn't take much. Please like and subscribe and share this show and channel as well. To all your friends, of course, that does help out. And we've been growing quite significantly over the last year. And I want to thank everybody for being here and doing that with us. Deplorable Dreg. Nice to see you, brother. Thank you for being here. Tanya Matthews. I've seen a lot of new names tonight or today. I want to say thank you to each one of you guys and welcome to the show. I hope to see you back again. And definitely check out the archives. We've got some great interviews. We've got Peter Moon. We've got Brad Olson. We've got Lon Strickler. We have Elisa Medhus. I mean, the list just goes on and on, folks, of some of the fantastic interviews that have been conducted here on this channel that I'll be honest with you, on my off time, I'll sit down and I'll watch some of these interviews because I enjoy the discussion so much. And there's more often than not something that I've missed on the first go through. So it's awesome. All right. Thank you very much, guys. My moderators, I want to thank you for being here and doing such an excellent job. Appreciate all of you, Dark Hour Paranormal team. If you guys are interested, go ahead and hop on Facebook. We have Dark Hour Paranormal Live is our group if you're interested in joining. Of course, the majority of what I'm posting up are things coming forward in the way of creativity, upcoming shows, collaborations, and so forth. And speaking of collaborations, not to make this too long-winded, ThirdPhaseOfMoon and myself have been working on an album together along with Orlando, who is a friend of Blake and Brent's. And it is, guys, I wish I could show this to you right now because I'm so excited to let you see and hear what we put together in the way of music, knowing that we're all, guys of the radio. We're all, journalistic in our integrity, and nobody really knew how musical some of us were. In fact, that stems all the way to our inner circles in the way of surprise here. So, man, you guys are going to really enjoy this. We're actually putting together music videos as we speak, which are, God, I have no words for the absolute perfection that ThirdPhaseOfMoon has put into these videos, far exceeding anything that I could have ever imagined. But yes, be on the lookout for that. And we have, who do we have tomorrow night? Very quickly here. So I said I had him the other day and I messed that up. That happens. Sorry, guys. I think I was on another show at that point. Anyway, no, I have to tell you who it is that we have because it wouldn't be right of me to just tell you we have somebody. Okay, so I have Steve Herman coming tomorrow at our regularly scheduled. I'll do some tongue twisters here. Regularly scheduled time, 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, 5 p.m. Pacific. We'll be back with Steve Herman, who is a world-renowned clairvoyant, healer, and actually knew my mentor as I was growing up, believe it or not. So it's going to be a very interesting conversation with him. Please be here for that. And I want to just give one more shout out to Mr. Catfish. Bro, thank you so much. He says, we raise people's spirits here, DHP. Man, if that's the effect, that's exactly what I would hope for. And I, again, thank you very, very much, all of you, for your generosity, your time, and your energy. All right, guys, we're going to get out of here for the moment. Let me set up here. I'm thinking of putting some new music on the intro and the outro. What do you guys think? Leave me a comment there in the section below what you think I should do. Is this getting old? Has it run its course? I don't know, but we'll find out. All right, everybody. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your afternoon and evening. And stay informed, inquisitive. And for those of you who do, stay magical. Cheers. And ciao.